Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Complete Sports Media's podcast. I'm your host, Darren Campbell. And of course, joining me on a Monday to do a weekend wrap up of sports, Jason Cameron. I only saw you like 48 hours ago, or maybe a little less than that. So nice to see you so soon again. We had a great time on Saturday night getting together, watching some combat sports. It was a blast. Thanks for having me over.
Thanks for coming over. Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. I'm glad that we were able to figure something out so we could watch everything.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, well, I was most excited this whole weekend, looking forward to the Terrence Crawford Errol Spence fight. Seemed like that was the biggest sporting story of the weekend. It had really got some legs, probably about 5 years in the making, and many of us that were boxing fans sort of doubted that maybe it ever could come together just because of the rival promoters and the issues boxing has had to put top guys against each other in their prime. So when it was finally put together and it was happening this weekend, I was super excited. That was the thing I was most looking forward to on the weekend, and I'm glad it finally happened and we got to see it live.
Yeah, I'm glad it did happen too. I'm glad the boxers, like, apparently there's a story that literally Terrence Bud Crawford did it himself.
Yeah.
He phoned Spence and made the deal. So
Yeah.
I'm glad it happened. But how the boxing match turned out, I was surprised. I didn't think it was going to go that way.
I think the world was surprised. As a boxer, you have to have supreme confidence, and I'm sure Crawford, had that thought in his mind that I'm going to go in and destroy this guy. But I don't think the other 7 billion people on the planet were thinking the same thing, because Errol Spence is one of the greatest fighters of this generation, and one of the best of all time, coming in 28-0 with 22 knockouts and a really decorated career himself. And you just thought this fight was going to be a major hard-fought battle for 12 rounds, and finally we were going to see who gets a decision. We didn't suspect it would be so one-sided. An absolute masterclass, incredible performance by Terrence Crawford. Just really dismantled him with a counter-striking performance that I don't remember seeing in a long time.
Counters, timing, it was just all on point for Crawford that night. All of it. Yeah. And the mere fact that Crawford was able to knock him down not once, not twice, 3 times.
Yeah.
And that's the first time Errol Spence has ever been knocked down in a fight. Yeah. And he got knocked down 3 times.
Yeah, no, it was shocking, and it's incredible display. I thought Crawford was going to win this fight, but likely going to a decision and winning a majority decision, or a unanimous decision, but winning way more rounds than Spence. I suspected that both guys just had too much skill and ability that none of them were going to get caught. But it was in the second round we saw a knockdown. It was kind of a bit of a flash knockdown, but it seemed to really just immediately turn the tide in favor of Crawford. And then we just saw him win. Well, that second round, he gets a 10-8 round according to the scorecards. And then he just won every round after. 2 knockdowns in the 7th round. And, we were just jumping up. Holy cow, this is actually happening. Wow. And, finally finishes it in the 9th. But, it wasn't close. After that first knockdown happened, this fight wasn't close. It was Crawford's, and he was just dominating in every facet of the game.
Dominated every facet of the game. He was actually the stronger boxer, stronger fighter, which was kind of surprising since he's coming up to that division. Yeah. And Errol Spence has always been there. And he continually kept hurting Spence. Mm-hmm. That was the other thing that was shocking. He kept hurting him, and Spence couldn't hurt him at all.
Sure. Yeah. We always talk about weight classes and weight divisions and the tough weight cuts that guys have to go in the combat game. I heard that Spence was suffering a lot. He said he really couldn't believe how bad it was getting this weight cut done. Do you think that was a legitimate excuse for this performance, that it just depleted him too badly, that he just wasn't there that night?
Could be part and parcel. I think more credit needs to go to Crawford. I think he just showed that there's levels to this game, and he is at the highest tier of his boxing career right now. Like he was just unbelievable. Now, Spence should have known better about how to cut weight properly for a fight of this magnitude. You would have thought that he would have kind of taken all aspects of his training pretty seriously, including the weight cutting. Unfortunately, it didn't work out well for him. But I don't know. Me personally, from what I saw in that boxing match, even if his weight cut did go well, I think this is still the turnout. This is still the result.
Yeah, it just seemed a clear cut, decisive victor. Okay, and saying that, they both had a rematch clause. Spence asked for a rematch right after the fight. I'm not sure if he still feels that way, talking to his team, watching the fight again over the next few days. But he said, I'd like to fight again at 154 in December. Do you see that fight happening? Is that where we're going to go with these two guys? Do you see it realistically happening?
Yeah. Yes. I guess I would say yes, because it is in the contract. So I don't know how it's structured, but I think Crawford probably doesn't have a choice. Like, it's either like he has to fight him before he can fight somebody else, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's the way it would have to. I think that's the way it goes. So I'm just not sure if this is going to go any better for Errol Spence. Like, I'm like, I have some serious doubts. Like, I'm actually looking at that second fight, if they do, when it does get made, or if it does get made, Crawford might finish him off quicker.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking at. I think Crawford might finish him off quicker this time around, second time around.
So if you were his management team, you were his cornerman, you would advise him against doing this fight as a rematch next. You would advise him to seek some other opponents first, and then maybe challenge him in a year or two.
Yeah, that's what I would do. Like, because I would definitely have some fights in between before I challenge him again, because and just have some more time to develop a game plan, because whatever game plan that he had going into this fight clearly didn't work.
Yeah.
Didn't work, man. So you got to start that off from scratch again and figure some stuff out. But like, I think he needs more time than anything. As I don't think him jumping into another rematch does him any good.
Yeah.
Any good.
Immediately upon victory, Crawford jumped onto the ropes and started pointing at Jermell Charlo and saying, "You're next, you're next." We saw Charlo being interviewed, by some of the media there. Do you see that as a really potential, if this isn't a rematch? Do you see that? Crawford did say at 154 as well, he would love to bring Charlo in and show him the same thing he did to Spence.
I'd be more excited for that, because we haven't seen that fight. That would be something that'd be super exciting. And then plus on top of that, like, once again, he's going up in weight, Crawford. Eventually there's going to come a time where he can't keep doing that. But yeah, I would love that fight. I'd love to see that fight, because I think that's something that the fans would want to see, because we've kind of already seen how this one goes, right?
Right. Do you know what these guys supposedly made for this fight?
You know what? I have no idea. Can I guess?
Yeah, please.
25 million apiece, both guys.
Pretty good guess. They think it's around 29 million each, 29 million plus each. I got some numbers here. I guess they say there was about a 1 million pay-per-view buys at $85 a piece to buy the pay-per-view. You got $85 million coming into the pool. 10% immediately goes to Showtime, and then 90% is spread out between the promoters and everybody else involved. They think it'll be about 38.5 million each, split between the two guys. They were guaranteed 10 million each before pay-per-view money even came into the equation. So they're getting about that 10 million guaranteed plus about 19 plus million each for the split of the pay-per-view. So to me, when I hear those numbers, I'm like, okay, well, this fight's happening. This rematch is happening. If that many people made that much money, money talks these days. And I don't think Jermell Charlo moves the needle as much as, Errol Spence.
I agree with you on that too. I would definitely agree with you on that. Like Charlo's a good boxer. He's a champion, but I don't think he moves the needle like Errol Spence. And yeah, and if they can do second time around, get that many pay-per-view buys again and get people to buy in, man, yeah, money talks. Yeah. That will happen.
Yeah, it's just the reality of life these days. We have seen money, come into sports, into boxing, and usually will change minds of many others. And when you're talking about $85 million pay-per-view plus, the gate, they had a huge gate in Vegas, all the sponsorship money, that's a lot of money. And a lot of people are going to want a piece of that pie. So I feel like with the rematch clause, both in the contracts, with that kind of money that was generated, there's a good chance that, people can be convinced to gain. Errol Spence learned from this. Errol Spence is going to have a, better chance a second time against him. I don't know, but it just, to me, it seems like it's got rematch written all over it.
It does, doesn't it? It does. And especially if they have buy-in like they did this time and people are interested, they want to see it again. It's funny, though, $85 for a pay-per-view, man. Woo! That is getting pricey. That is getting pricey. So with the cost alone, like you think to yourself, like, do I really want to see it again? Right? But at the same time, he could be talked into it. Easy. Yeah. Easy enough. Like, especially if you see his training, he's like, oh, Errol Spence looks great. And on top of that, if the second time around is going to be at a higher weight, so then he's definitely not going to be diminished through weight cuts and stuff. So, yeah.
Is there any question now that Terrence Crawford is the pound for pound best boxer on the planet?
No question in my mind. Like just like look what he did. He blew him out. He blew him out and knocked him out, right? Like, so yeah, because all right. So who would be right up there? Definitely, I think Crawford is my one.
Yeah.
Then you could argue maybe Tyson Fury. At one point in time, Lomachenko was in there, but I think he's lost too many times. But yeah, but I think Crawford is it right there.
Yeah. Right there. Well, there was a fight over in Asia this week. I think it was a Wednesday card with the time change, maybe Tuesday night late there, Wednesday morning here kind of thing. And it was Stephen Fulton against Naoya Inoue. And when Inoue just blew Fulton's doors off, everybody for about 3 days said, oh, he's the pound for pound king, best in the world. He held that crown for a very short time, though, when we saw this absolute dismantling of Spence, who's, in that pound for pound class. If he wins this fight, he's probably considered a pound for pound best. So, you know, pretty crazy that we saw, you know, three of the best in the pound for pound conversation fight all in the same week.
Yeah, it is funny how that happened, how that came to be. But I would right now definitely put Crawford ahead of Inoue because of just who Crawford just beat.
Yeah.
That's why.
First guy to ever hold the belt in the 4 belts in 2 different weight classes. Super impressive performance there. We you and I were like, oh wow, okay, and nice to see the graphic of all the former champions that had that before. So does this put him in the conversation as one of the greatest of all time?
Yeah, yeah, I would say so, because right now I believe Crawford is 39-0, right?
40 now, 40.
40-0.
Yeah.
He's 10 fights away from matching Floyd.
Yeah.
That's amazing in and of itself. And if he can match Floyd, like that's who he's chasing down right now. So if he can match and then exceed Floyd Mayweather with an undefeated streak, he by far and away is one of your greatest boxers of all time.
Yeah. So I'll read off the list of undisputed male champions in the 4 belt era. Everybody's from 2017 to 2023, except for Bernard Hopkins, who did it at middleweight in 2004. Jermaine Taylor replaced him at middleweight in 2005. And then Terrence Crawford, 2017 at super lightweight. First guy in sort of this era. And then Usyk at cruiserweight 2018. Josh Taylor, super lightweight 2021. Canelo did it also in 2021, super middleweight. Jermell Charlo, who we mentioned already earlier, is that 4 belt champion in the super welterweight division. And Devin Haney, Inoue that I mentioned earlier, and then Crawford now, first guy in 2023 welterweight, first guy to ever do it in 2 weight classes. I start thinking about now, can he attack a 3rd or a 4th? You know, there have been guys that have belts in 4 weight classes. I think Floyd had 5, I believe, 5 in his career. Do you see the possibility of him ever facing someone who's just been incredible in this generation, like Canelo Alvarez? Could you see a super fight like that ever come together?
Canelo Alvarez he fights in a higher weight division though, right? Like he's quite a bit bigger than Crawford, I believe. True. That'd be a tough one, man, because I don't know, because Canelo would have to come down significantly. And
I could see them trying to do it at a, you know,
catch weight
coming down, one guy coming up, sort of meet in the middle.
Yeah. That's the only way it would have to happen. But the other thing
if I'm a promoter, I'm trying to put that fight together. That to me just blows the doors off of these pay-per-views. You know, we're looking at maybe 2-3 million pay-per-view buys, something like that.
If that could be a reality, and if they could make the weights work, that would probably be one of your highest grossing pay-per-views of all time.
Yeah.
It just simply would, because of the magnitude, the names that you have attached that are fighting. Like that'd be another one that you're coming over and we're watching. Indefinitely.
Yeah, exactly. So a fantastic night. Amazing to see, you know, such a virtuoso performance. I didn't think I would be disappointed with any outcome, any result, unless it was a DQ or, you know, something egregious mistake by a ref or something. But I thought, you know, I would be satisfied with any result. But I feel like I'm happier because I just saw somebody at their top level fight another guy at his top level and put in one of the greatest performances that I've ever witnessed in boxing. I've been watching boxing my entire life, and to just see somebody be able to rise their level to what he did, it's just magical and great, and I'm glad it turned out so well.
Yeah, me too. Like when you see these two guys and they're at the height of their powers, but then you basically see one guy go, "No, buddy, I'm actually way better than you," and it's just, and you're just shocked because you're just like, okay, wow, because he took him apart.
Yeah.
He took him apart, man. So yeah.
Well, the numbers blow my mind. He landed 60% of his power shots. He landed 50% of his shots total. His jabs were unbelievable, but his power shots, to land 60% of your power shots, to land twice as many shots altogether over Errol Spence, who's one of the greatest of all time. Just numbers and just the visual, everything about it just absolutely is mind-boggling.
Oh yeah, and especially the visual of once the boxing match had ended, you saw just how beat up Errol Spence was, and he was beaten up. And you're just that in itself was shocking to me because we've never seen him look like that ever.
If I'm a really good friend of Errol Spence, if I'm his family, if I'm in his inner circle, I legitimately say to him, it might be time for retirement. When he spoke at the post-fight press conference, his words were slurring. He had definitely received way too brutal of a beating. And unfortunately, when you receive a brain injury and you don't let it fully recover, like, he's talking about fighting in 5 months' time, you run the risk of damaging it so much further. The CTE is a real thing. And especially with boxing, he absorbed 190 punches that night. And, to hear him talk, to see how brutally beat up he was, I don't really think that I would be happy if I was in his inner circle that if he's not taken a year off at least to try to recover that brain fully.
Yeah. I sometimes I feel conflicted, and I'll say why. So I realize that the guys that are in the ring, they have a job to do to try to get some information from the fighters. But after a fight like that, and you're trying to interview Spence, you already know he's concussed. Yeah. He's not quite there, So sometimes I feel that that's really unfair to the losing boxer because like his brain is not quite where it needs to be at this point in time after a brutal fight like that. So that's why
I think most announcers, Joe Rogan, I've heard him say this many times, he doesn't like talking to the losing fighter. He tries to refrain from it. He doesn't think that it's fair. The guy should be on his way to the hospital, making sure that he does a full check and nothing serious happens. Unfortunately, boxing, I love it, but it has led to people dying, and you can't tell a brain injury from just looking at a guy, talking to a guy. You have to go to the hospital and do a full proper medical check. So I didn't like it. And I'm not just talking about him talking in the ring. They had him in the post-fight press conference, and that's where I was very alarmed from the way he was talking, the way his words were coming out slurring, and he wasn't very coherent. And I heard him talking a lot leading up to this fight. It was sounding like a very different person.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And when you hear that and then you see that, you're just like, oh, man, that's not good.
No.
And so, yes, if I was part of Errol Spence's inner circle, I'd be like, oh, man, no. I think 5 months is too quick. I think he's definitely has to take some time away from the ring, like no light sparring, no practice, no anything. He probably should take some time off for maybe 2 months and then do his checks and everything in the hospital. But yeah, man, I kind of agree with you on that one. I think 5 months is too quick. I think you should probably be taking like maybe 8 to 9 months off, personally. before he fights him.
Selfishly, I'd love to see him fight again. I don't want him to retire, and I don't like calling for people's retirement. You know, I think he's a brilliant fighter, and he's been very entertaining. He's been able to put on a masterful career, and you know, you're not almost nobody is unbeatable, you know, in combat sports. So, you know, this shouldn't be him being super sad that he lost. You know, he just lost to a superior guy at this moment in their life. He can probably beat him at some point later on in 2 or 3 years if he does the things right. You never know. Crawford could take a step back because Father Time is undefeated, and you know, there could be a chance at redemption getting this. We saw redemption happen in the UFC that we're going to talk about in a minute. Justin Gaethje 5 years ago loses to Dustin Poirier, turns it around this time. So, you know, I just really hate that combat sports that, you know, is entertaining for us could lead to guys diminish quality of life in their future. You know, this guy's already made millions and millions of dollars, will have a phenomenal life if he just decides this is it moving forward. I think most of us want him to fight again, but let's do it very safely. Let's get him on the shelf for a while. Let's make sure he's fully recovered before we see him again. And just, you know, just for his quality of life and his friends and family getting to have, you know, Errol Spence Jr. at his best abilities.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And then that's why you when you have your inner circle of people, that those people aren't just yes people. Right. Those people will actually tell you what you need to hear, even if you don't want to hear it. Sure. They'll tell you what you need to hear. So, yeah, you're going to have to be careful with that, because if there's one thing that you don't want at the end of your career is where your head is mush, you talk punch drunk, and your quality of life is like severely limited. You don't want that. You want to be able to get old and enjoy your cash that you've earned and all that sort of stuff. You want to be able to enjoy the life.
You and I saw Evander Holyfield at this fight. He attended it. You hear him talk now, you can tell, you know, he's had too many blows to the head. It's affected his brain, and he doesn't sound like the Evander Holyfield that we, you know, knew and loved for most of his career.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you see it with some of the older fighters, right? Like actually what you really want to have is like somebody like who was there that night, Tommy Hearns. Tommy Hearns can still talk just fine.
Yeah.
Right. So that's it. That's where you want to be. That's where you want to be.
Yeah, totally. Okay. Staying in the boxing game, I just want to announce there was an announcement on Sunday that the world champion Artur Beterbiev, his title defense against Callum Smith is now postponed. Beterbiev has a bone infection in his jaw. He had to undergo surgery yesterday. Supposedly it's went well, and he's in recovery. That happened in Montreal yesterday. He is the WBC, WBO, and IBF light heavyweight champion. He resides in Montreal. He's the only world champion in boxing with 100% knockout ratio, 19-0 with 19 knockouts. Callum Smith is 29-1 with 21 KOs, and he was the WBC mandatory challenger coming in. He has won 2 in a row since his 2021 loss to Canelo. This fight was super exciting. It was supposed to go down in Quebec City at the Videotron Center on August 19th, but it has to be postponed because of Beterbiev's surgery. And yeah, we'll see. Hopefully they can put this together in the coming months after he recovers from this. Yeah,
definitely. Weird thing to have happen though.
Yeah,
that's kind of scary. Like an infection in your bone in your jaw. Like, I wouldn't even know how the heck that happened. But glad to hear that he got the surgery done, and then hopefully once he fully recovers, hopefully we'll get to see this fight at some point in time in the future.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so during that night, we're at your place and we're trying to watch the boxing and the UFC same time. The timing, I was thinking it's gonna probably work. It's gonna kind of come in between maybe the co-main and the main. It was happening as the co-main was going on. So we didn't get to see the co-main as much as we wanted to, with trying to keep both eyes on it. But let's start with the main event. It was a title fight, the BMF title. Two guys coming in. They, as I mentioned a little earlier, they fought in 2018 with Dustin Poirier getting a knockout win in the 4th round in that one. Poirier and Gaethje were both 6-2. Since that, both losing to the same two guys coming in. But I think most people were leaning towards Dustin Poirier still being able to be the victor in this one. We see a very feeling out process in the 1st round. Not a ton of damage landed by either guy, just trying to be careful and not walking into anything. All of a sudden, we're watching Poirier, and he's starting to come in and starting to press the action a little bit. And out of the blue, Justin Gaethje lands a incredible head kick that goes around the guard of Poirier and flattens him out, knocks him out, shocks the world, blew everybody's mind. And Justin Gaethje is now the BMF champion, the #1 contender for the lightweight crown. And it was pretty shocking, pretty amazing, and very memorable KO that we were not expecting.
No, that knockout was as shocking as, and the fact that it was pretty much the exact same technique except with the opposite leg, because he knocked him out with the right leg. It was the exact same thing as Leon Edwards, Kamaru Usman.
Exactly, yeah.
And it was the same kick, same technique, same results,
same arena,
same arena,
same city, same arena. Yeah, so super bizarre. It was like a mirror was held up, and we saw, bam, it happened here, bam, it happened here. A year later, wow, same arena. Pretty incredible, shocking result. Yeah, I don't think anybody had Gaethje winning by head kick. He was really good at his low kicks in that first fight, and he was really damaging. Poirier definitely a lot in that first fight, and you thought he was going to employ that same type of strategy. He'd landed a few outside leg kicks that weren't that damaging or brutal at all. And all of a sudden, I don't think Poirier suspected it. I heard him talking today, and he said, here I saw a punch thrown. I went to duck it, and then the next thing I know, I'm trying to grab onto Herb Dean. And I'm like, why am I grabbing onto Herb Dean? Oh, crap. Something happened. I'm laying on the ground. I laid back and thought, damn it. He said, just came out of nowhere, didn't see it. Suddenly I'm on my back on the canvas, and that was it. It shocked him as much as it shocked all of us.
Yeah, and it's always those strikes you don't see coming is the ones that do the most damage. And like it was funny because you knew, well, he's not gonna fight that one. Like, no, he lost. There's nothing he can say. It's like, oh no, the fight stopped too quickly. No, man, he saved it. and he was not getting up. It was over.
No, he was done. It was finished, and Herb Dean came sliding in like he was sliding into home plate to stop that from any further damage. But yeah, this really puts Justin Gaethje at the elite status, giving him an opportunity to fight for the belt. I would love to see a rematch between these two guys, because now they're 1-1. We can have a trilogy, and it would be something that, I would be clamoring for. But probably the smart move for Gaethje is wait and try to fight whoever emerges as champion in this division.
Yeah, man. Like, I think the smart money move for Gaethje is just to wait. Just wait at this point in time. Of course, our favorite Irishman had to chime in, and also that people don't forget who he is. Um, Gaethje had a very funny response to that, though. He's like, I'm not really into fighting people on steroids, so I think I'm good. So I thought that was pretty funny. I thought that was hilarious. Uh, Question for you. Do you think Gaethje should even think about possibly fighting Conor? Or should he just be purely focused on the belt? Get it?
Well, he said it there. I heard Poirier say it, like, this guy's got to pass a drug test first. Like, he's not even really in the sport,
Yeah.
until he starts doing USADA. And in my opinion, uh, Conor needs to be drug tested solidly for the next 6 months, so we know for sure that he's clean. We don't know that he's. I would say 95% of the people that know this sport know that he hasn't been clean for the past year and a half. So he's got to get clean. He's got to get that out of his system. So it's a fair fight. I don't want guys on roids if the other guy can't be. If they can both be, great. But if they can't, then Conor shouldn't even be in the equation to talk about for any fights. Get drug testing, and then, then you can call out whoever the hell you want, but get in the USADA drug program, and then legitimately we can really discuss who you should fight next.
Yeah, because like right now, I think as it stands, like he has to do the USADA for like 6 months.
Yeah.
And so like even if he starts now, the closest he could have a fight would still be next year.
Yeah.
Right? So
yeah.
So you're absolutely right. It's like that. Well, there's nothing to discuss because you're not in the mix. You're not fighting. You're not in the USADA drug testing pool. So you're kind of retired. You know what I mean? Like you're not fighting, right? Like we were expecting you to be back in the USADA pool when you started doing the being the coach for the Ultimate Fighter, and then you didn't do it. Like nothing happened. So then you're just like, okay, well, what's going on here? Like, when do you want to jump back in? Is he thinking, I guess maybe I'll jump back in next year? Because then that's still 6 months.
Yeah.
And then you're looking at the summer. So whatever, man. I guess we'll wait and see when he decides that he wants to come back.
The one thing, I call it Russians almost every single solitary time we have a podcast because of their just blatant steroid use across all sports. And it has been really, really brutal because they've got sanctioned, and then they still have athletes testing positive for steroids. They get banned from competitions, and they still have athletes testing positive for steroids. If I'm going to call out Russians for doing it, I should be able to call out Irishmen for doing it. And, he's obviously doing something, or he would be in the program, wouldn't he? Like,
absolutely.
Right?
I definitely agree with you. Okay. I'm actually going to make an argument for this guy, and I can't believe I'm actually doing this, but I am. Okay, so he breaks the leg. Yeah. Probably the quickest route to recovery from that devastating leg injury was actually helping, like taking steroids to help supplement you getting back and recovering properly. But you don't actually have to just keep doing it, right? Like eventually you just say, okay, I think I'm good. And I get off, like start weeding myself off, go back into the testing pool. Because like that was a long time ago now. Yeah. And if you look at Conor lately, you're just like, you got pretty big. It's pretty cool. You're like you
look at the before and after pictures. He's like a different guy. Like if he didn't have the same tattoos, and you could recognize his face, you'd be like, this is a different human being. Like he's put on 30 pounds of muscle probably, and he's talking about fighting 3 or 4 weight classes up than he was, and you don't just naturally put on that type of size. You just don't. That's just it's inhumanly possible, and especially when you're recovering from an injury and you're not able to work out as heavily as you were before. It's not possible. I'm fine with guys doing HGH, TRT, steroids, whatever the hell they want to do, but not competing. If you need to recover from serious, devastating injury, there's a lot of proven medical facts that this will progress your healing and get you back. But once you're back, it's time to get off them so we can have a fair fight. Until they have a mixed martial arts promotion that says, go ahead, use whatever the hell you want, then it's a fair fight. It's not a fair fight if one guy's on something and the other guy can't be. Then that's just not what we want to see here. This is life and death. We're talking about life and death. A guy could kill a guy in there when he's got an advantage of these pharmaceuticals in his body.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, hey, we've seen this happen with Mark Hunt versus Brock Lesnar.
Yeah,
where and that was super brutal because now it's
pretty much ruined Mark Hunt's career. He might never recover from that beating.
Exactly, right? And he also proved it, because they had to pay him out, that the UFC was fully aware that the dude's still on steroids, right?
Yeah.
Fully aware.
Yeah.
And they just wanted to make the fight happen so they can make their money, and everybody did. And then Mark Hunt had to make his money off the back because he unfortunately had to sue the company and say, no, you guys were pretty aware that he was on stuff. Yeah. And then also, too, I'm sorry, man. Just look at that guy.
Yeah.
That guy's not a walking steroid, like, human being. Like, this all you gotta do is look at him and go,
sure,
okay, so this is who I'm gonna fight, and he is juiced to the gills.
Yeah.
Right on.
That's why, in a way, I wasn't super excited when Endeavor and the WWE merged, because I thought maybe there would be way more crossover from wrestlers coming in. We saw Brock Lesnar move across. We saw CM Punk and others, talk about it. But I'm worried because almost all professional wrestlers are on steroids. Almost every one of them is on steroids. And the, UFC guys, if they're being tested, it's not in their system right now. So, I was a little concerned and worried about WWE and Endeavor, the UFC parent company, being in bed together and too much crossover, because, we just can't have this. We can't have this in this type of sport. It's, I don't really give a crap about team sports and a lot of the other stuff that we see sometimes. This is life and death. If a guy has this kind of advantage, we see a death, it's going to harm this organization. It's going to harm the sport as a whole. It's going to make people turn away and say it's too violent. There's been deaths. I don't want my children ever getting into it. I don't want, to support something that leads to deaths. And so far, thankfully, over 30 years, we haven't had a death in the UFC. But if they aren't strict with rules, we're going to see this, and it's going to harm the sport that we love.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to harm the sport that we love, because, like, if somebody dies in the octagon, it's going to be bad. It's going to be a very, very, very bad thing. And I'm sorry, but I'm going to go back to the example I was with before, with Mark Hunt and Brock Lesnar. Yeah. Now, what if Mark Hunt had gotten some serious brain injury? You know what I mean? Like, what if he got seriously, seriously injured? You know how bad that would have been? Because not only did you skirt the rules, and then he had to fight somebody that had a clear advantage by taking steroids, now he's super injured, and he's in a hospital. Now what are you going to do? No, they gotta follow their own rules, obviously, and you got to keep it clean. You got to keep it above board for everybody.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, well, Islam Makhachev and Charles Oliveira fight October 21st. This will determine champion there. And I see Justin Gaethje getting this opportunity, to fight the winner of that. Dustin Poirier, he has probably a myriad of guys that he can fight that we will be really excited to see him fight against. He shouldn't be taking too much of a step back. Number 2 against number 3, they switch positions in the rankings, and then Poirier has, some great fights coming up. So yeah. I'm excited to see both of them fight next.
Yeah, I'm super excited to see both of them fight. And there's not, like you just said, there's not going to be much change in the rankings between the two of them. It's just that now Gaethje, I think the smart money obviously is just for him just to wait bide his time, see who he gets to fight next. Hopefully, it should be just for the belt. I don't see I don't see a scenario where you should fight somebody else before he fights for the belt. I think he just fights for the belt.
I agree. Yeah, definitely. Okay, now let's turn to the co-main event. We watched it. We weren't watching it with 100% focus, but we both saw Jan Blachowicz win this fight against Alex Pereira, who was moving up in weight. Still looked, as big as Blachowicz, but we saw Blachowicz win 2 rounds of the 3 and should have got the decision. Ended up losing a split decision to Alex Pereira. He calls it absolute robbery. He's really mad and angry. I think everybody, that saw that really, I think would have said that Blachowicz won this fight. And it's too bad the referees got this. I mean, the judges got this wrong.
Yeah, it was a travesty. 7 minutes and 32 seconds of control time, and apparently that doesn't count for nothing. Didn't count.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing that shocked me. It's like, yeah, it's over 7 minutes of control time, and apparently that didn't matter.
Right.
Yeah. So it's just like, what are we doing here, people? Like what's going on? Like what is happening right now?
Brutal.
Like it's almost as if there was a notion from the UFC that we got to promote him, we got to push him. And so if it's somewhat, close, we're just going to give it to him. But that's the other thing. I don't think it was that close either.
No.
I think it was pretty clear that Blachowicz won.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we saw him fight. We've seen him fight some of the middleweights that came up, and we saw him employ the strategy of taking them down, controlling them. And he had won against 3 other opponents that had moved up in weight. And we thought, okay, the best strategy, and his team's going to think this too, is to take this guy down and control him. Okay. And so that's what he did. He did his strategy to a perfect T. And then they rob him. They take this away from him. It's wrong. It shouldn't have been that way. Pereira might have outstruck him on the feet, but he didn't damage him heavily. He didn't have him in trouble. He didn't have him wobbling around. And the thought was, oh, maybe he's going to finish this. There was a stand-up battle that was back and forth, back and forth. He might have landed a couple more shots per round. Whoop-de-doo. He was controlled on the ground for half the fight, and they decide to give him the nod. It's wrong, and it was a poor decision. It pains me to see the judges coming in and making mistakes like this and changing the course of history, changing a guy's career. Blachowicz is getting up in age. This was another shot for him to look at a belt. They're not giving him a title shot now when he's coming off a loss. So it frustrates me, it angers me, and I'm mad, and I can see him being super frustrated by this. I guess Alex Pereira probably now does move into the picture at the light heavyweight division. It's been murky because we've seen the last 3 champions all vacate the belt without losing it. We saw John Jones walk away, decide he wants to go to heavyweight. We see Yuri Prochazka end up with a brutal shoulder injury and leave. We saw Jamal Hill now has an Achilles tear that he suffered in a basketball game. And so all 3 guys have had to vacate the belt. Not sure if Prochazka's going to be able to come back, if Hill's coming back, what's going to happen to this really weird light heavyweight division. I'm not sure what the picture looks like over the next 6 months, year. I don't know. I don't even know.
Yeah, it's just going to be a merry-go-round. It's literally like the top 5 guys in the light heavyweight. Like eventually somebody's going to have to fight for the belt. But definitely, I'm telling you right now, at some point in time next year, maybe even around the summertime, I think 2 of those guys are going to be coming back and they'll be good to go. And I think I'll be around Jamal Hill and Yuri Prochazka. Yuri Prochazka, the only question mark with him is that if he can actually recover enough to even fight again.
Yeah.
That's number one for him.
Sure.
Because with Jamal Hill, yeah, he has the surgery, and once he recovers from his Achilles injury, he'll be good. But it's an Achilles tear, so that will take like 8-9 months to a year for him to recover. Yeah. So, I guess the only big question mark for me would be Yuri Prochazka, if he can actually come back. But if he can come back, I think sometime next year, then he would have been gone for at least 2 years, right?
Yeah.
Hasn't fought for at least 2 years. 2 years is a significant amount of time for you to try to recover from any sort of injury.
Yeah.
And that should give you a good idea if he can actually come back.
Yeah.
Because if he can't come back after 2 years, probably going to have to call it quits.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm not sure where this light heavyweight division goes. We'll have to see over the next little while. Two of the top 5 guys coming back from super catastrophic injuries. And, the Magomed Ankalaev, horrible performance last time. So I don't think he's in the mix. So just don't really know where this goes. But I'm really sad for Jan. I think he got robbed, and it's not fair for him. Hopefully the UFC does him well and pays him well for his next performance, whoever it's going to be against. Okay, the heavyweight fight that happened right before that was pretty shocking result. Derek Lewis has had some ups and downs in the last little while, but he comes in tied with Matt Brown for the most KOs in UFC history. And so you're looking for a knockout from Derek Lewis. We love seeing the Black Beast in there. And he has never really ever looked in as good a shape as he is now. He seems to have really taken it seriously. I knew he never really enjoyed training. He loves food too much. And I don't think he ever really took it as seriously as he seems to be now. And I don't think he could have ever thrown a flying knee that, would have knocked out a guy until recently. But that's what he did to Marcus Rogerio de Lima right off the start of this fight. Runs in, jumps up in the air, throws a flying switch knee, drops him, jumps on top of him, and was able to get the victory very early on, 31 seconds into this one. And then he takes the mic, makes us all laugh. Love this guy, love him in the UFC. Said he's a free agent. Hopefully the UFC signs him because he's one of the most entertaining guys in the sport.
He took his shorts off to celebrate. He took his shorts off, and then and then he goes to Joe Rogan. He's like, you know how it is, Joe. The ball's hot. Got to take them off. I'm like, he does make you laugh. But if this is the new version of the Black Beast, and this is an in-shape version of him, that he can just do jumping flying knees and just take guys out first minute, yeah, he should stick to that. You should stick on that schedule. Like, you should stay with that sort of fitness level, because obviously it's good for him. And then it's good for the UFC. Yeah. Guy's hilarious. Yeah. So, you would want him back in the organization. Now, I guess the only question for the UFC is like if they can negotiate a new contract and if they will pay the men. Yeah. But if he doesn't get it from the UFC, I feel pretty confident somebody's going to pay him. Somebody would want him in their organization.
Yeah, no well, we saw Francis Ngannou walk from the UFC because the money wasn't there. We can see, I'm sure, Derek Lewis, because there would be a lineup of promotions wanting this guy to represent their company. He's really personable, very funny, and as I said, has the most knockouts in UFC history in the cage, and that's a pretty incredible accomplishment out of 30 years to be the guy who's knocked out more opponents in the cage than anybody else. Yeah,
that is an incredible accomplishment. And hopefully we'll see him knock out more people. That's my hope. I would love to see him knock out more people, but I also want to see him get paid. I think he deserves it. I think he's one of the most engaging heavyweights that they have in the UFC at this point in time. I think he should still be there, and I think they got to pay him. I think they got to pay him.
Yeah, oh, he deserves it, and I hope he gets a big payday. I hope they step up and pay him what he's worth and what he deserves. And yeah, I don't want him to go somewhere else, because I watch some of the other promotions, but not as closely as the UFC. And unfortunately, when guys leave the UFC, they kind of get they sort of disappear in the public eye. A lot of them, join these other promotions that just don't get the same kind of notoriety and publicity.
Yeah, because UFC is the flagship. They're the ones. They're number one in the sport. And if you're not on there, then you're not really being seen. You know what I mean? Like you're just in a lower tiered organization.
Can you name me one of the winners this weekend from the Bellator card?
Who fought?
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's just, that's the way it is. Unfortunately, Bellator had a huge card, but we don't really know about it much. No, it's just there's not much media attention to it. So, you become sort of obscure. Yeah, it's great to make some money, but that notoriety also contributes to getting a lot of endorsement deals, contributes to your value, your brand value, and you can keep asking for more and more money as your career keeps going up and up.
Yeah, absolutely. Just as long as you keep winning, you can keep getting more money.
Yeah. Okay, let's turn to the much anticipated lightweight battle between Tony Ferguson and Bobby Green. Tony Ferguson, former champion and all-time BMFer, and he comes into this one on a 5-fight losing skid, fighting a really tough guy in Bobby Green that just has one of the toughest, most unorthodox style. Very hard to fight because his punches are coming from his waist, and really, really fast. He's got speed advantage over almost everybody that he fights, and he was able to pick apart Tony Ferguson, end up getting this victory, one of the latest submissions ever in the UFC. 6 seconds left, but yeah, unfortunately, I think the wars that Tony Ferguson has been in have really aged him and really taken the steam out of his fighting. And with 6 straight losses, yeah, I know that he's right on the edge of finishing his career, leaving the UFC, maybe not to be seen again. But Bobby Green was definitely the superior fighter on this night.
Oh yeah, man. Like he was able to use his speed and his counters to great effectiveness. Like fighting Ferguson is hard because he's super unorthodox.
Yeah.
He doesn't follow, he doesn't really have a set movement pattern when he's striking. Like it'll just come from anywhere and everywhere at the same time. Oh. But what happened to Ferguson was, unfortunately, is that Green figured him out. Green figured him out and was able to hurt him. Out wrestled him too in round 2. He had really good ground and pound when he got him to the ground. But it was a little odd though. Like when Green was locking in that arm triangle, right? And then you saw Tony just trying to flail his legs. I'm just like, okay, so is he doing that for the reps to say that, oh no, he's still with it? Or is he doing it to show I'm about to go out? Like once I stop kicking my legs, I'm done, right? Then you can start fighting.
Yeah. Yeah, Dan Miragliotta almost took a couple of those kicks to his face because he was flailing around, trying his best. I don't know, maybe work himself out of that, but he was in a no-win situation once the triangle was in and Bobby got position on the side of his body. Yeah, at the beginning of the end, he went out on a shield, didn't tap. It didn't look like he was out for long though, which was good.
Yeah, no, that was good. But I think at this point in time, if the UFC doesn't cut him, or maybe like Ferguson is really close to the end of his contract, and maybe the UFC just lets him fight it out. But one more loss for sure. I think the UFC cuts him. Yeah. I think that's it and it. And also too, he should be seriously considering retirement at this point in time. I really do think so. I think he should seriously be considering.
Yeah, I think everyone, is seeing the writing on the wall. Hopefully, he has those people in his inner circle that, tell him the truth. And, as I said many times in this podcast, I never want to call a guy, tell a guy to retire because, you know, I, I don't know all the sacrifices he's gone through in his life to get where he is. I don't know, where his financial situation is. I don't know anything about his personal journey, to get there. But you want a guy to have a quality of life in his retirement, and so maybe it's time. He'll always be remembered very fondly by most mixed martial arts fans as a guy that brought it every time and was really entertaining for majority of his career.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like he should be celebrated for that because he was a fantastic fighter when he was at his prime. I think he has one of the longest winning streaks in the UFC when he was really on. But there has to be a time when you have to be real with yourself and say, I don't know if I can keep doing this because, and especially when you have the losses that just keep piling up and up and up, I think that's a serious indicator of where you are and what you should probably be thinking of and doing next.
Yeah. Okay, I want to talk the first fight that kicked off the main card, but I also don't want to forget we need to talk about the Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, Michelle Pereira incident where Pereira missed weight and that fight didn't go forward because of Wonderboy not wanting to fight him. But let's just briefly mention Kevin Holland, great performance over Michael Chiesa. He ends up getting a Darce choke victory. And just a very amazing performance by the Trailblazer against a super tough guy, number 12, Michael Chiesa.
Yeah, and Chiesa, when he shot and then Holland was able to like lock up that Darce choke, I don't think when he did that, I don't think his positioning was good. Or he probably didn't consider that Holland's his long limbs would be able to do that to him. Right. I think that maybe that's more to the point. Like he just didn't consider just the length of Holland's limbs and just go, oh, I think I should be safe. You were not safe. Like, because he wrapped up that Darce choke quick and took him out. So, and interesting enough that Holland said that after, he's like, oh no, he was super susceptible to that. And that Chiesa has actually lost to the Darce choke 3 times in his career. Yeah. So kudos to the coaches for seeing that and knowing that that was available. That was there for him to take. If he shot sloppily, that he would be able to lock that up really quick. So
yeah,
great win by Holland.
Chiesa went for that takedown after getting hit by a brutal knee. Was kind of dropping him at the same time. Holland was beating him up on the feet, landing some brutal knees and really softening him up. And I think Chiesa was like, okay, I'm going down. I better try for something. And, once he went for that, I think Holland was like, hey, we trained for this. I've seen this. And you're right. Chiesa has the most Darce choke losses in UFC history. So, he was susceptible to that. But it was sort of because of what Trailblazer was doing to him in the fight.
Yeah, that's true. Because Trailblazer landed that beautiful knee, rocked him, and then he was able to lock up that Darce choke and just take him out. So, very curious to see who Kevin Holland will fight next and at what weight division he fights next at, because he did mention that he'd like to go back up to 185 and eat meat and have sex again or something like that. I didn't realize that having sex, that would just affect him that badly. So I would like to see the man do that again for himself. So, if he goes back at 185, but he looked good at 170. He looked good at 170. And again, we were talking about it that night. I'm always amazed at how big Michael Chiesa is, because then I'm always like, how did he ever make 155? He doesn't look like a man that could have ever made 155.
No kidding. It's shocking. Shocking that he could have. And Holland's able to come down and still look good, which is pretty insane and wild. Yeah, he said he wants to eat steak and have lots of sex and just stay at 185. So yeah, all the power to him. Hopefully he can put on good performances like this one at that weight too. Okay, as I mentioned, I do want to talk about the Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, Michel Pereira. This fight was supposed to take place. We were excited about it. Great welterweight guys that are near the top of this division. And Pereira again misses weight. We saw him miss weight here in Vancouver, and not a lot was not a lot of punishment was given to him for that miss. Luckily, Tristan Connolly, fighting a weight class above himself and made weight, was able to get the victory, take the performance bonus 50,000 away from Michel Pereira as well, and change his life. It was an amazing thing to see. But if Michel Pereira is missing weight consistently and not having to get himself right down there, because it is the toughest 3, 4, 5 pounds are the last 3, 4, 5 pounds are the toughest, and it's the ones that are going to impact yourself the most. Wonderboy steps on the scales, makes weight, has never missed weight in his entire career, and Pereira has consistently done this. All the power to Wonderboy to say, no, I'm not doing this, buddy. I'm not willing to make this compromise and say, sure, go ahead, give me 20% of your purse. Whoop-de-doo. Not doing it. I applaud Wonderboy for saying, forget this, and we'll fight another day.
Yeah, I do too. But there's a problem. I have and if this is accurately reported, I got a real problem with this. That apparently Wonderboy wasn't given his show money.
Jeez.
Yeah, and so then if that's actually the case, if that's the truth, what is the message that you're trying to send to your fighters? Which is, because it's in the contract, like everybody's got to make weight, and if the guy that you're fighting doesn't, you have the right to say no.
Yeah.
So now that they did that to Wonderboy, are you saying, yeah, even if they don't make weight, you still got to fight if you want your show money?
Jeez.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Why do you even have those rules in the first place? Why does anybody have to make weight then?
Yeah.
I heard it. I was reading it. I had to read it a couple times. I'm just like,
wow.
That doesn't make any damn sense. Like, what's the message you're trying to send? Like, you're trying to force your fighters now that even if the other guy doesn't make weight or it's an egregious miss, that they still got to fight? That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Not happy about that at all.
That's ridiculous and horrible, and that has to change. That has to change, or you're sending a horrible message to everybody, and nobody's on, gonna have to follow the rules. So Wonderboy faced Darren Till a couple of years ago, and Darren Till came in overweight, and Wonderboy said inside the cage he could see and tell how much bigger, how much more power he had. It really shocked him. And he said, never again, never going to do this again. And he lost to Darren Till. It affected his career when you get a loss like that. He's in his 40s now, and he has to be very smart and strategic. He takes a loss against anybody. Nobody's going to say years from now, oh, it's because that guy was overweight. If he takes a loss right now, he might never get a chance at that upper echelon or a title fight again. So, this is the right move. I'm glad his camp was fine with it. I'm glad, they all decided that this was in the betterment of his career to step away and say this fight's not happening.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree, because he came ready to fight. The other guy did not. Simply said. That's right. Yeah. And also too, you have to remember, okay, so he missed weight, but he gets to rehydrate, right? And we saw that with Pereira. He went from 205 the day of the weigh-in to the next day, and he showed it on his Instagram. He gained 23 pounds. He's back to 228 for the day of the fight. Yeah. So now not only does you're asking Thompson to fight him, and he didn't make weight, but that guy could probably put back 20 pounds. And now he's that much bigger than Thompson in that fight. No, man, it's not fair. It's not fair and it's not right.
No. No, the UFC should force him to fight at his proper weight. He has to go up in weight, and no more crap. This is their fault for allowing him to fight this. You miss weight twice, then you should never be allowed to fight in that weight class again. That should be another rule that they employ. And Wonder Boy said, there's just not enough consequences, and it's just not right. Guys can just egregiously miss. And he said sometimes I could understand a half a pound, and the guy has to take that off in the last hour, whatever. You got to make weight. That's the only thing that you have guaranteed that you'll do when you sign the contract. I will show up and make weight on the Friday. So, you didn't honor the contract. Why should I be, salvaging your week, your training camp? He said, I sacrifice. I have to be away from my family doing all the training. And, it's just wrong. And hopefully things like this maybe change the UFC's eyes and, put some more punitive things in place for a guy that will just periodically keep missing weight.
Yeah. Like something needs to change there. And I agree with you. Like if you miss weight way too many times, can't fight at that weight division anymore. You got to go up. Yeah. And I think they should make a hard and fast rule for that. And definitely you should not be penalized if you make weight and the other guy doesn't, and you choose not to fight him. You should get paid. You were there to fight. You were ready. Yeah. So, like, I just don't agree with it because
that's a horrible look. Terrible decision for the UFC. Yeah. Okay. Let's fly through the prelims. The featured fight on the prelims had Gabriel Bonheim coming in undefeated at 14-0 against Trevin Giles. I didn't like this fight right from the get-go. I thought it was a mismatch, and it definitely proved to be. It was over. It was over before it started, but Bonheim had to come in, and 1 minute 13 seconds later, he gets his hand raised, and kind of an easy walkthrough. Just these guys are on different levels, and it wasn't a fair fight.
Yeah, because it was 73 seconds, right? So I think Bonfim had just looked at him and said, how fast can I get this guy out of here? Yeah, I think I can do it pretty quick, but we'll you know what? We'll see. And then 73 seconds later, he's like, all right. He choked him out. Done. Yeah. But yeah, unfortunately, this was a miss. They got this one wrong. Giles should never have fought Bonfim. Like, it's never, because he's not even close to being on his level. But love the call out that Bonfim had, because he wants to fight Neil Magny. I think that's a great fight. Yeah, that's a fight that you should make. That's one that should happen.
That'd be great. Yeah, I really look forward to that if they can put that together. Very cool. Bonheim's got 15 wins, 12 submission wins. He just got an immediate takedown, jumped in, got a guillotine choke in, and won this. And yeah, let's hope we get to see him against Neil Magny. I think that would be a terrific fight for them to put together. And he made the call out, so why not? Let's do it. Flyweight fight between CJ Vergara and Vinicius Salvador. Very happy to see Vergara get his hand raised, because Vinicius was another guy that missed weight. He missed by 3.5 pounds, I think it was.
Brutal.
Yeah, just I don't want to see a guy coming in that heavy. The other guy agrees and him win. I love to see a guy get beat at his game if he's not willing to be proper on the scale. And nice performance by Vergara. I like the victory.
Yeah, I thought eventually he was really getting the better of the exchanges between the two. I kind of thought that Salvador was fading a little bit near the end of that fight, probably because of the weight miss. And yeah, 3.5. So he missed by 3.5 pounds. Yeah. Okay. And again, they're lucky that this fight even happened. They're lucky that Vergara decided to say, all right, you know what, I'll still fight him. Because again, maybe more guys need to do that.
Yeah.
Maybe more guys need to say, didn't make weight, forget it, done.
Yeah.
So, like, just not give the UFC any wiggle room. It's like, the guy didn't make weight, I'll fight him.
Yeah. Or the UFC just has a rule that if you don't make weight, you don't fight. The guy doesn't have a decision. You're just out. Too bad for you. We'll have a backup fighter, and you're not getting anything, and you're suspended for 6 months, or like let's make it brutal. So the guys just don't do this. They either fight at their proper weight or they make the weight. No ifs, ands, or buts. You're not getting to fight, and you're suspended for 6 months, a year, whatever. Like, make it just very, very, very tough for these guys to just periodically do this, and it gives them an advantage. Yeah, that's no joke. It gives them an advantage. Really, it does.
Yeah, and like, if you make the penalty severe enough, then you'll see a lot of this nonsense go away, right? And maybe that's what they should start really looking into. And I like that idea. I like that idea of taking the decision out of the fighter's hands and saying, if you don't make weight, then you don't fight.
Yeah.
We'll just have somebody else waiting in the wings.
Okay. This next fight involves a Russian. I've had some issues with Russians. You can talk about this performance. That would be better, probably.
Okay, all right then. So Kopylov, great win by him, by the way. I thought it was actually pretty even in the first round. I thought both guys were trying to field each other out. Ribeiro had some great leg kicks, but Kopylov was definitely continuing to move forward and putting on smart pressure on Ribeiro. He's beginning to crowd him more and more as time went on, especially going into the second round. Kopylov caught Ribeiro a couple times when he was coming in, great counters, but finished him off in round 2 with a left high kick. And it was a beautiful left high kick because there was no tell whatsoever. He didn't load up the kick. He didn't do any of that. He just threw it shin to the man's chin, and he was out.
Yeah.
Done and done.
Yeah, he sure was. He was. It was a great kick, and it was over immediately. Mark Goddard came in and stopped the action. He called out Sean Strickland, which
that's not gonna happen.
It might not happen because Strickland is quite a bit higher ranked, and he's not quite in the rankings yet. But I guess you might as well shoot for the moon and make that call if you want.
Yeah, shoot for the moon. It's unfortunate, but that fight's not going to happen. Kopylov still needs to climb the ladder if he wants to fight a guy on Sean Strickland's level, and he's still several fights away from doing that.
Okay, let's talk about the fight that kicked off the prelims. Jake Matthews was supposed to fight Miguel Baeza. Baeza had to bow out, so Darius Flowers came in on late notice, making his UFC debut. He came in with all sorts of pressure, was really, really pressuring Matthews, and looking really good doing so. Matthews kept his head about him, was trying his best to keep him off with good strikes and lots of movement, and eventually Matthews was able to capitalize, get the big victory, and take Flowers out, get a submission victory. And it was good while it lasted for Flowers, but it was nice that Matthews was able to say, no, I've got this. I'm good. I'm gonna be able to beat you. But yeah, pretty good debut by Flowers, but the superior fighter, I think, won in the end.
Yeah, definitely. Matthews was the better fighter. He actually had a great game plan, since Flowers took this fight on short notice, so that his tank is not up to snuff.
Yeah.
And so he just he bided his time. He waited for his opportunity, knew that he was going to get tired. And then once he got it in round 2, got the takedown, good ground and pound, tried to go for a Kimura, didn't get that. Eventually got his back and got the rear naked choke, sunk that in. Great win by Matthews.
Great win. Very good. Yeah. Early prelims, let's just mention it super bit quick. I actually saw the Miranda Maverick fight first. Then in my transit heading over to see you, I missed the Semmelsberger Medish fight. You said Medish was phenomenal, looked great, ended up getting the win. What do you want to mention there?
I just want to mention the fact that Medic, I want to say, I think he hurt his leg at some point in time in that fight. So he was dealing with that. But he hit him with Medic hit Semmelsberger with a spinning back fist, which led to him getting grounded and then finished off with the ground and pound. It hit him with the forearm, actually. That's right. Yeah. And it was a beautiful win because Semmelsberger is a dangerous fighter because he's got a ton of power. So I was super impressed with that win by Medic. Super impressed.
And then he said, "Happy birthday" to me, and we were like, "Okay." I don't remember a guy yelling that out before. that made us laugh.
Yeah, that was actually pretty good. I do appreciate the fact that he did that, where he was like, "Oh, by the way, everybody, it is my birthday, so happy birthday to this guy right here." I'm awesome.
Yeah. Semmelsberger was supposed to fight Johan Lioness in this fight, so Medish stepped in on short notice. Another impressive short notice performance, and good on him getting a victory over a super tough guy. Miranda Maverick looked really good in her fight, fighting a super tough girl. But yeah, I thought very dominant win. That is her 8th submission, 5th UFC win at 26 years old. Won 3 of her last 4. Really, really nice performance over Zombie Girl, a Quechua, a very tough girl there, and nice way to kick off the card. I thought it was good.
Yeah, great way to kick off the card. Maverick looked fantastic. Maverick looked great. I look forward to seeing her just to keep continually climbing up the ranks and hopefully at some point in time starting to fight some ranked opponents.
Yeah, I think she deserves it. Yeah. Okay, we've got a card coming up this Saturday. It's coming to us from Nashville, Tennessee. Actually a pretty underrated city, pretty fun. Starts 3 o'clock Pacific for the prelims, 6 o'clock for the main card, locally here in the Pacific region, obviously 3 hours ahead in the East. This fight should be pretty good. Cory Sandhagen, Rob Font, they were both supposed to fight different guys. So this is kind of a mashed together fight. Sandhagen was supposed to fight Umar Magomedov, who had a really severe shoulder injury, had to pull out. Font was supposed to fight Song Yadong, and he got injured, so they've had to put this together. They've decided they would do it at a catch weight of 140 and bring them in. They're both ranked at the bantamweight. Cory Sandhagen's number 4, and Rob Font is number 7 in the bantamweight rankings. The Sandman is on a 2-fight winning streak. He beat Chito Vera last in March on a split decision, and Song Yadong was his second last victory in September. Rob Font has also won his last 2 and comes in. His last win was against Adrian Yanez. That was just in April. So they're both coming in strong, and I'm actually kind of excited about this fight. I wasn't, going to talk much about it because they were fighting other guys, but now I've had to sort of transition and say, okay, yeah, this fight kind of makes sense, and it should be pretty good.
Yeah, I think the fight makes a lot of sense. I think the fight's going to be very good. It's going to be very technical. It's going to be basically chess. These guys are going to be playing chess with one another. because their fight IQ for both of these men is just through the roof. So
Yeah.
I expect a very technical battle wherever the fight happens, on the feet, on the mat. It's going to be very technical. Here's a question, though. I've never actually really considered this. Regardless of who wins this fight, would there be any change in their rankings since they're not officially fighting at 135?
I doubt it. Yeah, probably not. No, I don't. No.
So at least for them, at least none of that's going to change.
Yeah.
But I have no idea who's going to win this fight. To me, they're pretty equal.
They're very even. Yeah. I don't see. I honestly can't see a ton of difference between them. You know, I think they're both exactly the same fighters. So yeah, it's very interesting matchup, and yeah, should be fun. Probably pretty fun fight.
Yeah.
The co-main has Jessica Andrade. She's coming in facing the undefeated Tatiana Suarez. Suarez is definitely on the rise, and heavy prospect coming through. Andrade is that pit bull girl that we just can't believe that she's so much of a crazy pit bull. She just looks like a fighter, and really has had a lot of amazing fights, has fought for the belt on a few occasions, and has had a pretty incredible career. Suarez was supposed to be fighting Montana De La Rosa, who fell off this card. So Andrade is coming in on late notice, coming in for this one. She lost to Yan Jinan in May, and lost to Erin Blanchfield to a rear naked choke in February. This will actually be her 4th fight this year. So super busy. Andrade is super tough, has been through wars. This is actually going to be her 25th UFC fight, which is incredible. So Tatiana's the up and comer, the veteran. Andrade, pretty interesting matchup now.
Very interesting matchup. For Andrade, what she needs to be super aware of is not discount her opponent like she did for her last person that she fought. She didn't respect that person. I cannot remember.
Yan Junan was her last opponent there, yeah.
Yeah. Didn't respect her enough. Yeah. Lost. I think she learned from that, and I think she definitely has to come in with a little bit more respect with Suarez. But I think the path of least resistance to her is just maybe try to take it to the ground and not go for submissions, just ground and pound.
Yeah.
Just ground and pound.
That makes sense, yeah. Suarez, not new to the UFC. This will be her 7th UFC appearance, but like I said, 25 now for Andrade, and that's pretty elite company. We've got 2 Canadians on this card, which is always great. We've got Tanner Boser, friend of the show, been on this podcast on a couple of occasions before. He's coming in fighting for his UFC life. I don't want to say anything bad about him. I love this guy, want nothing but the best for him, but he has coming in lost 2 of his last 3, 4 of his last 5, and was really worried that he might be losing his UFC career. Begged them to give him another opponent, give him one more chance. He's facing Alexa Kamer, who's Bosnian, and has had a fairly decent career, but he is coming in off 2 losses as well. So I'm not sure what we're going to see, but I'm glad Tanner's getting another chance, and I hope he gets a victory here to continue his UFC career.
I think you're going to see a great fight between these two, because there's definitely a sense of desperation coming from both fighters. So I think they're just going to be coming out full steam ahead.
Yeah.
No holds barred, laying everything on the line, especially when it's coming to Tanner, because he knows this is it. This is his last chance. If he loses, he's out, and he knows that.
Yeah. Okay, and then the other guy fighting on the card just after that fight is Gavin Tucker facing Diego Lopez. Tucker is coming off that really tough 22-second knockout, the hands of Dan Ige. That is going back over 2 years, though, March 13th of 2021. He's 13-2, has had a pretty great UFC career, 7 appearances. This will be his 7th appearance. He's 4-2 in the UFC's so far, 4 KOs, 6 submissions. Only 3 have went to the judges. Lopez comes in 21-6. He lost recently to Movsar Evloev, lost the decision on May the 6th, just 3 months ago. And he's coming in, not doing too great. Last 8 fights, only 3-5. So both guys needing a victory as well in this one. I'm sure Tucker will bring it. And I think we're going to see a heck of a battle in both these fights.
Yeah, I would say that too. I agree with you on that. Gavin Tucker is incredibly skilled, and we haven't seen him fight for a while. So I'm looking forward to seeing this fight. I'm looking forward to seeing him.
Yeah. Okay. Let's put the combat sports to bed and just talk a little bit about some of the other things that are going around in the world of sports. Great visuals today. Damar Hamlin was on the field today for his first padded practice since his cardiac arrest last year. It was very emotional for him. Great for his family, great for his teammates. Nice to see a guy as looking like he's fully recovered from this, and nice to see him back in the mix and getting a shot at training camp.
Yeah, it's great. It's great because of the fact of how it could have been, right? No. Like that, and that's the win that we all wanted to see. I'm glad he can continue on with his career, because clearly they probably gave him a battery of tests before they would even consider putting him on the field. Yeah. And now, knowing that he's passed all of that and he's good to go, I couldn't be happier for the young man, and I hope he has a very long and awesome career in the NFL.
Yeah, me as well. Yeah, I'm told he's not guaranteed a spot on the team, which was kind of scary to hear that. I guess they've brought in some other people, I guess, in case he wasn't going to be able to recover, and he's not guaranteed a spot. So he's in a dogfight to keep his job, and I wish him nothing but the best. I hope he stays there. He's very beloved in that community, and with his teammates, you could see just the absolute outpouring of support for him, what he went through, and lots of love there. It would be tough to see him leave this team and have to pursue his career somewhere else.
Yeah, that would be tough. I understand why the team had to do that, just in case. Yeah. But at the same time, I'm like, well, but he is back now, so does he really have to fight for his job? You know what I mean? Yeah. But it's the NFL, and I understand it's business. I understand it's cutthroat. But I don't know. I would have appreciated it more if they just said, okay, you're good to go. You don't just immediately lose your job. You could come back, you get your job back, and yeah, we'll go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think they're making that kind of a statement. I just think that I just think that there's been some talk that there are a lot of guys fighting for his position, and it's not guaranteed. So but fingers crossed. At the end of training camp, we'll see him suit up and have a phenomenal career going forward. We are in the week that we will see the NFL preseason kick off Thursday. First game. It's the Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio. They always kick off the season now with that game. It's the Cleveland Browns against the New York Jets. I'm not sure if we're gonna see any Aaron Rodgers in this first game. Probably unlikely. They usually have the prospects and some of the other guys fighting for positions play those first couple preseason games, but nice. That's always a nice way to kick off the preseason. That Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio, and the guys will be inducted on Saturday that are the 2023 class. Lots of festivities all week long, and Great. It's always great to see the guys celebrated for their amazing careers.
Yeah, no, that's always fantastic. It's always great to see people given their flowers as they're going into the Hall of Fame and all that sort of stuff. And that's cool. That's great. But for the preseason, I'm kind of curious since it's the first one. Maybe you don't see him, maybe you do. I'm pretty sure we're not going to see Aaron Rodgers.
No.
So I agree with you on that. But we may see Deshaun Watson. We may see him. And that makes sense to me because he didn't have the greatest end to his season last year, and he clearly needs reps. So maybe we do see him in.
Yeah. I think a lot of teams are really worried about having injuries and that kind of thing. So we usually don't typically see the starters until the second or the third or the fourth preseason game. But you could be right on that. A guy just didn't get the reps last year, and it'd be nice for him to get up to speed. I would myself, if I'm running a team, I'm getting my guys reps. I'm getting my guys ready. I'm really putting forward. So by the time I hit that first game, they're already in sort of mid-season form. That's what I would do if I was running a team.
Yeah. And again, that's what you want to see, but you still got to be kind of careful, right? Because you don't want any of your starters to get hurt, especially before the season starts, where you're just like, oh, how many guys went down in our preseason game? Like 3, 4? Okay.
Yeah. Well, in a second, I'm going to talk about some injuries that happened today. So, yeah, that's happened. But I do want to mention just the 9 guys that are getting into the Hall of Fame. Darrell Rivas, Joe Thomas, Zach Thomas, DeMarcus Ware, Rondé Barber, Joe Klecko, Chuck Howley, Ken Riley, and Don Air Coryell, my favorite coach of all time, longtime San Diego Chargers coach. Pretty good class. A lot of really top guys. Amazing though in the NFL because careers are so short. Guys can get in just having 3, 4 elite years and having maybe 6 to 9 year career get in there. But I love to see the speeches. I love the inductions, and this is a lifelong achievement for a guy. So great to see these 9 guys getting this honor.
Yeah, it's fantastic to see. And then I always like seeing the Hall of Fame because you kind of get reminded again, or you're like, oh, he's going. Yeah, he should. Yeah. He was really good. Like, as you go down memory lane, like especially when you said Darrell Rivas, that for me, I'm just like, oh yeah, definitely Darrell Rivas, because Darrell Rivas was as good as like any cornerback ever. Like I put him in the same, like when he was at his prime, he was as good as Deion Sanders.
Yeah,
he was that good.
Oh yeah, he was elite. He was tough. Yeah, you were not able to get much going on that side of the field. You pretty much had to stick to the other side of the field if you were going up against him.
Yeah, and you gotta love that. Like if you're a defensive coordinator, it's just go. So Rivas, you got just the side of the field. Just gotta worry about you other guys.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. I mentioned injuries. Was wide receiver Tim Patrick on the Denver Broncos was carted off the field today. Blown, it looks like ruptured Achilles tendon. Every time I say that to Jason, he winces because he's felt that pain and he knows that recovery. They haven't released the full details, but that's the initial diagnosis that's been out there. So gone for the year. Tough for Denver. Denver's offense last year was absolutely brutal. And one of the reasons was Tim Patrick ended up blowing out his knee last year, August 2nd. So it's almost exactly a year to the day. We're two days removed from a year to the day he left. And that offense was already a bit hampered. KJ Hamler has been released. They said that his injuries that he have are too great and he won't be able to recover. So he's out indefinitely and possibly not back. And there's been a bit of controversy this week because Sean Payton came out and said, worst coaching performance in the history of the NFL happened last year with Nathaniel Hackett. And he was sort of chastised for saying the truth and being out there and sort of throwing the old coach under the bus. But Nathaniel Hackett and Russell Wilson, terrible year last year, really brutal offense. And Sean Payton's coming in to try to fix this, but losing these two receivers is definitely not going to help.
Not going to help at all. But at the same time, when Payton said what he said, he wasn't lying. It was facts. It's facts, right? Like, it's like, no, he was brutal. And guess what? I'm better. I'm better. But he does put on a lot of maybe unnecessary, unnecessary, what's the word I'm looking for?
Maybe focus, attention, maybe.
Yeah. Like a lot of unnecessary attention on him because now he has to provide. He has to be better, and the Broncos have to be better. And it's going to be a lot harder to be better when two of your main weapons are going to be gone on offense. So, yeah, a lot of unnecessary attention, but at the same time, I fully expect Sean Payton to turn this team around, and I fully expected the Broncos to be significantly better because Nathaniel Hackett is just that bad of a head coach. He's just that bad. Like, how is he a head coach? Man, nobody should ever give him another head coaching job. Like that. That's how bad he was. Like, nobody should. You shouldn't roll the dice. You just be like, nah, man, we're just gonna go in a different direction, like away from you, far away from you.
Well, the funny thing is, another team has given Hackett a job, and this led to a funny situation here. So I'm going to harken back to the Academy Awards, and Chris Rock came out and decided to be funny and started taking some pot shots at some of the people in the audience. And then Will Smith decided to come up and slap him. And what did he yell while he was in the audience to Chris Rock? Do you remember his words?
Keep my wife's name out of your bleeping mouth.
Right, exactly.
Many times he said that, Chris.
So Aaron Rodgers decided to become Will Smith this week. And after he heard Sean Payton say this about his new offensive coordinator, Nathaniel Hackett, with the Jets, he said, tell Sean Payton to keep my coach's names out of his mouth. And so it made me think of that Will Smith rant and the big controversy that erupted there, because they use very similar words in their defense of their significant other.
Yeah, no, it's funny. It's quite funny. And Hackett's the offensive coordinator, right?
Yeah,
for the Jets.
Yes, no. Yeah.
Okay, so that's a step in the right direction. He's not a head coach. Okay, cool. Because maybe that's all he can handle. Just that.
Well, and come on, but their offense was super brutal last year.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, right? Like, I mean, yeah, maybe he could have been the coach of the Water Boys or something, or like, I mean, Jesus, I wouldn't have given him a shot. I don't know why the Jets did.
Maybe that has more to do with Aaron Rodgers than anything else, because like those guys have worked together before, and then maybe he had a little bit of pull to say, I'd rather work with this individual or this gentleman here, even though he was super brutal. And I'm sure the Jets are like, oh, okay, this could be good, or this could be really, 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 really bad.
I guess Rodgers and Hackett had worked together before, so they had a previous relationship. But after that display with Hackett, I would have sent him back to the college ranks and learn a little bit more before you come back, because that was one of the worst. And Payton wasn't wrong. He really shouldn't have just said it out publicly, but it was just so brutal to see Russell Wilson come over with this massive deal, and Broncos were suddenly going to be, a force to be reckoned with, and it just couldn't have imploded been just worse. It was just the ugliest thing we had ever seen, and one of the worst offenses in the football history of football.
Yeah, and then everybody was just like, well, that was the terrible deal to get Russell Wilson because he's terrible.
Yeah,
he's absolutely terrible. Now that we're going into year 2 with Sean Payton as your coach, and he's actually said we're going to be getting Russell out in space. He's going to be moving. He's like, I'm going to try to get him back to being how he was, the old Russell Wilson, right? So I'm curious to see how much of a difference it is from how it was for the Broncos last year to this year. Because, and all of that difference will be attributed to Sean Payton, and rightfully so.
I mentioned KJ Hamler getting released. They waived him because he has a heart irritation. It's called pericarditis, and so they said, yeah, see you later, buddy. So we talked about DeMar Hamlin with, obviously a very big heart issue there. They said, yeah, they've waived him. They're using this non-football illness designation, and he's currently undergoing treatment. Not sure how that's going to play out, but yeah, all the best to him recovering. But NFL is a ruthless business. Something's wrong with you like this. They usually just say, see you later, and maybe you come back, maybe you don't.
Yeah, and it's also to protect themselves, because it's the last thing that anybody wants to see, organizationally, players, anything, if somebody dying on the field. Yeah. Right. Oh, and so they want to take that chance, and if he can somehow get right and then get back to them, I'm sure they'll gladly accept them. But they can't take that chance. You just can't take that chance.
Now the training camps have got underway and are starting. We've seen a few holdouts. Nick Bosa is holding out for the 49ers. He's trying to get a contract extension to become the highest paid defensive player of all time. He's the reigning NFL Defensive Player of the Year, and he did not attend training camp so far this week. It sounds like they think they'll be able to come up together with a deal, and we'll see the biggest contract in NFL history for a defensive player. Yeah,
you know what? He's kind of earned it. They kind of need him. That particular deal that needs to get done, and I'm sure that will get done sooner than later. They're probably not going to have this hanging over their heads as an organization. They'll get that deal done. Sure.
Yeah, I believe they will. Yeah, it's going to come together, I'm sure. Another guy that's decided to hold out is Jonathan Taylor, running back for the Indianapolis Colts. He has asked for a trade, and does not want to report. Unfortunately, they lost their second string running back today. Zach Moss ended up suffering a broken arm, and will miss they think around 6 weeks. So now they're down to their third string running back, Deion Jackson. And then we saw the owner of the Colts, Jim Irsay, take to the mic, get into a press scrum and say, you know what? If I die tomorrow and Jonathan Taylor doesn't come back to the Indianapolis Colts, do you think anybody really cares? Do you think anybody really even notices? And so that has stirred up a whole bunch of controversy and can of worms. Don't know why he said what he said. Jonathan Taylor has been the best player with the Colts for the past few seasons, and one of the reasons why you even really want to watch them. Pretty crazy that he would say that, just basically calling his top running back irrelevant, and nobody would really even care if he wasn't even there. So I expect this relationship has become fractured, and probably a trade will have to be made.
I think that fractured is putting it lightly. Like, fractured is just putting it lightly. Like, you basically said, so our number one offensive weapon is irrelevant. You're irrelevant. Yeah. We don't need you. Oh, okay. All right. Well, then I guess it's a good thing that I am staying out because you're better off without me. Okay, go for it. Like if I'm him, I'm like, you just said you're better off without me, so just get me out of here. Let me
Yeah.
leave. So you can prove to me just how much better you are with your third string running back.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a blow that happened today after the statement. So that yeah, that really served him right for throwing his top player under the bus like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, down to their third string running back. Pretty brutal. We mentioned last week running backs have been started to be the way of the dodo bird, and most teams aren't treating them very well, aren't carrying. We'll see what happens now with the Colts down to their third string running back. There are still some top free agent running backs out there. Dalvin Cook is making the rounds, and yeah, we're hearing rumors, but nobody signed him yet. Amazingly enough, are you surprised that he's not under contract right now?
Well, there's something to be said about like why the running backs are so pissed
Yeah.
because like we're talking about Dalvin Cook. He's still really good.
Yeah,
Like, he can't find it.
sixth in the NFL in rushing last year. So, you know,
Like you do kind of have to throw up your hands and say, what is going on here?
yeah.
That guy is super good. And so you're telling me no team could benefit from having him on the roster? And none of the NFL teams would be better with having him on the roster. Yeah, that's a complete and utter lie. Like that's a head scratcher for me. It doesn't even make any sense. It really doesn't.
No.
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's crazy. Ezekiel Elliott still out there. Melvin Gordon still out there. Leonard Fournette, Kareem Hunt, all guys looking for jobs still. Also, the Raiders, Josh Jacobs has decided not to report. He has yet to sign the designation, and as a franchise player said, nope, not doing that. And Sony Michel, he has walked away from the NFL at 28 years old, had a 5-year career, won 2 Super Bowls in his career, one with the Patriots, one with the Rams, and at 28 years old is giving up on his NFL career. This is going to be happening a lot more as if it doesn't change the way it's been going. Yeah, pretty tough to see a guy that first round draft pick came into the Patriots, helped them win that Super Bowl in his rookie year, got 6 touchdowns in the playoffs on that run, was able to go to the Rams and really help them. And yeah, is gone at 28.
That just seems way too young, right? It just seems so young just to call it quits. Sucks, but at least he maximized that career, my friend.
No.
With 2 Super Bowls, not bad.
Not bad.
Not bad.
$11.5 million he made in his NFL career. So hopefully he's been really smart with his money and has a great retirement and can find something to keep himself busy in his post-football career. Another injury, Joe Burrow was hurt, has a severe calf strain, out several weeks. That's a little bit lousy for the Bengals. Burrow has been one of those elite players and has led Cincinnati to heights we haven't seen in many years. And hopefully he can come back pretty soon before the season starts.
Yeah. And like I think they're gonna obviously very much take their time with them, and not rush him and whatsoever because there's just no need. There's no need for him to rush back or anything. Take their time, make sure that calf strain is fully healed up before he takes the field again.
Speaking of the Bengals, Eli Apple has decided to leave Cincinnati and go to Miami to take over for the injured Jalen Ramsey. Jalen injured his knee and has to have surgery this week. So Apple has decided to come in and step into his place. And yeah, we've seen a Achilles tendon, we've seen a broken arm, we've seen a blown out knee already. It's only been a few days into camp. That's why I guess that they do this pushing on to the the starters later on into the preseason, but yeah, I don't know. I guess it's tough to know how best to handle it, but yeah, tough to see guys going down already with some pretty severe injuries.
And it's even tougher when it's non-contact.
Yeah.
Which is what happened to Patrick for the Broncos. It was a non-contact injury. And when it's a non-contact injury, that's when you know that's a significant injury.
Yeah.
Because if you just fall down and you didn't get hit, that's bad.
Very
it's
bad. Loved seeing Bobby Wagner back in Seattle. Great. He was part of that Legion of Boom that helped them win one Super Bowl and go to a second and be one of the elite defenses in the NFL for many years. Take off to the Rams for 1 year, comes back and now anchors Seattle defense. Seattle's defense last year was one of the worst against the run. It'll be great to see if Bobby's still got it and he can really keep fill a big hole for them and try to get Seattle back to a pretty decent defense.
Yeah. He's going to help them in their defense and their defensive schemes because Bobby Wagner still got it going on. And hopefully Seattle can just ride the wave of what they were doing from last season and just continue to get better.
Yeah, let's hope. Yeah. Okay, and other football news, north of the border, Canadian Football League, briefly just wanted to say Edmonton Elks have set the North American futility record for most losses in a row at home, 21 straight. No other sports franchise in North America has ever had 21 straight home losses. They faced the BC Lions this weekend, and BC shut them out 27-0. Second shutout of the year the Lions have had over the Eskimos. I looked into the stands and it was pretty bleak. And the few fans that were there were wearing bags over their heads. It has become really horrible in Edmonton. They are not a good team at all. And there's foreseeable future. There doesn't look like they're going to be able to win. Winnipeg Blue Bombers this week coming up. Another loss, I would guarantee it. And they decided to reach out to a former offensive coordinator, former quarterback for the BC Lions. Jarius Jackson will now be the offensive coordinator in Edmonton. Hopefully he can make a difference for them and they can stop this losing streak. It's becoming ugly there for once very proud franchise in the Edmonton Eskimos. Now the Elks have not won since they've been the Elks. They haven't won a single home game, and it's bad there.
That's horrible. It's horrible. Like it's unfortunately, I'm gonna have to say it the way it needs to be said. The trash, the garbage. They're very, very bad. And also too, that's a horrible name.
Yeah,
Edmonton Elks.
Yeah,
I'm not a fan. Like I remember the first time I heard that, and I'm like, it's awful. Maybe that's why they're doing so poorly.
Yeah,
because the name sucks.
Change it again, yeah.
Yeah,
I think for some reason they wanted that double E the same, and so they're like, okay, what animals start with E? Emus? No, not emus. I don't know. Elks? Okay, yeah, we got elks in Canada, sure, but yeah, it has not worked out, and it was. Most of the name changes that have happened in the couple years because of the Indigenous stuff haven't been good. I don't like the Guardians. I don't like the Commanders. I don't like the Elks. These are some pretty sad names that they've chosen to change them to.
Yeah, man. Would the Edmonton Elephants be better? You know, maybe. But at least you can say this with the Washington Commanders. Now that new guy's in there, he's changing the team name.
Yeah,
that ain't gonna be the team name anymore.
I hope so.
I think I don't know if he's been on record for saying that, but if he wants to put a stamp on his own team and get rid of that bad taste of Dan Snyder, that awful taste of Dan Snyder, change the team's name, move forward. Yeah. That's what I think.
Okay, briefly back to combat sports. Jake Paul, Nate Diaz this Saturday, Dallas, American Airlines Arena. Do you care? Where are you going to watch it?
Oh, probably not. Like, okay, I'm just gonna say this. I don't know if you heard the same thing, but I've heard rumors that Nate really hasn't been taking the training too seriously for this fight.
Yeah.
All right, so right there for me goes, why might I want to watch it
Right.
if you're not gonna take it seriously?
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? Like what? Why are you not taking this seriously? It's gonna be a huge payday for you. You're gonna do great. But if you think that you don't have to train because this guy is not worth your time, it could be kind of embarrassing night for you. Then
Yeah.
at the end of the day, because Paul can fight.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's too bad. I think Paul's the only guy that really has the knockout power. I don't see Diaz having the power anymore. And he's advanced age. He's, definitely not got the same type of skill level. I think, yeah, this is too bad. I was initially kind of intrigued a little bit because Paul has taken on guys that were, retired, had been retired for a while. Diaz is coming right off his contract and coming right into this, but it's not great. Not great if he's not putting in his full camp and taking it serious. Why waste our time on it too?
exactly, right? Like it's if you're not gonna put in the full effort, then why should I give you my money?
Yeah,
Why should I give you my money if you're not gonna put in a full effort, man?
yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay, I did want to say that MLB is heating up big time. I'm watching the Blue Jays and Baltimore Orioles currently. They have their trade deadline tomorrow. There's been a huge amount of trades this past week over the weekend. The Jays were able to pick up a fireballer, one of the pitchers that can throw the ball faster than anybody on the planet. This guy is routinely throwing the ball over 100 miles an hour. He has a little bit of control issues, so it's even scarier for batters when they come in and he doesn't even know where the ball is going. And if it's hitting me at 100 miles an hour in my noggin, I'm in big trouble. So this guy, his name's Jordan Hicks. He came in for a couple of pitching prospects. He has they started keeping track of miles per hour and how many pitches over 100 miles per hour in 2008. So since 2008, all the Blue Jays pitchers have had these stats kept for them over the entire history since 2008 to 2023. There's been 108 pitches by the Blue Jays pitchers over 100 miles an hour, 108 combined for all the pitchers. This guy in his career so far has thrown 1,583 pitches over 100 miles an hour. The whole entire Blue Jays staff for the last 15 years, 108 pitches over 100, 1,583 this guy's thrown over. So I'm excited. I'm really looking forward to seeing this guy coming in and striking out a lot of guys. Unfortunately, their closer, Jordan Romano, has been a little banged up, got put on the 10-day injured list. And so this guy's coming in to help bolster the bullpen and maybe help them on their run towards the playoffs, which they're currently in a wild card playoff position. So, but can you believe those numbers?
That's ridiculous. Like that just goes to show that he has exemplary consistency with his fastball, and that every time he's throwing that thing, it's going 100 plus. But again, like you just mentioned there, I'm a batter, little bit of worry because, like you said, you got a couple of control issues, so you don't. So you're just hoping it's like, hopefully that doesn't come high and up or close to my face because that's gonna hurt if it ever.
Oh man, brutal. Well, actually, one of the Blue Jays pitchers hit a guy in the face on, I believe it was Saturday. I think Saturday, and the guy has multiple facial fractures, has to undergo surgery, and they think is gone for the season. He's not going to be able to come back. and yeah, multiple facial fractures. They said his face was just brutal hamburger once he hit the hospital.
That's scary, man. That's it's so scary because it can be. Hey, your life is on the line.
Yeah.
Like you get hit with something that fast, it can put your life in jeopardy. I'm glad to see that like he's getting fixed up, but still, that is quite the injury. That is quite the injury.
Super brutal. Yeah, really bad. Unfortunately, Canada was eliminated today in the Women's World Cup. The host, one of the host nations, Australia, was able to spank them 4-0 today. Canada is bounced out. First time a Olympic champion comes into the World Cup, gets knocked out so early. They're the highest ranked team to get knocked out. They were in the group called the Group of Death, and it reared its ugly head for them. They really were under the gun after they only tied Nigeria in that first match we talked about last week, and Nigeria was able to sneak in past them because of their draw today against Ireland. Unfortunate to see Canada knocked out in the World Cup, just like the men were last year. They just didn't seem to have it this year, and especially this game against Australia. Australia just really took it to them, and they had a lot of pressure on them because it was in front of their home country and hometown fans, and so they just stepped it up against Canada and knocked them out.
Yeah, unfortunate. Sure, the ladies give it their best, but sometimes you just don't have it. Yeah. Sometimes you just don't have it, and sometimes the writing's on the wall, and especially with how it ended with Nigeria, they were going to be under the gun. They had a ton of pressure to try to get it done for the next game, and unfortunately, they couldn't do that.
I'm sad to see Christine Sinclair finished her World Cup career. That was her 6th World Cup, and they only played every 4 years. So 24 years she's been playing World Cup soccer. She was used a bit sparingly in this tournament because she's in her 40s, and there was younger legs maybe that the coaching staff wanted to see out there. But what an incredible career! One of the greatest soccer players of all time in the women's game. Definitely the best Canadian we've ever had in the women's game, and a girl from just right here in Burnaby, and was able to just do so much for Canadian soccer, rise it up to the ranks that they're number 7 in the world right now. That's an incredible accomplishment in the world of soccer when every nation plays it. Very cool to see, and a little bit of an unfortunate ending, but everybody's going to look very fondly on an incredible career.
Yeah, she was super instrumental for Canada to even be ranked as high as they are.
Oh yeah,
super instrumental.
Yeah.
And then she's going to be a future Hall of Famer. She gave us so much joy from all of her highlights and just how well she played the game. I always found it just awesome just to watch these highlights, watch her score. She'll be sorely missed. Sorely missed.
Yeah. We are growing with our female fans and viewership, so I'm really happy to see that and hear that, and I want to cover a lot more women's sports going forward. So you and I are going to have to spend a little more time, keeping on top of it. I do want to mention the women's golf this past weekend was in France. It was the Evian Masters, which is one of the majors on the LPGA Tour. And our girl from Canada, Brooke Henderson, ended up taking 2nd place. She cashed a check for $585,000. And 2nd place, very impressive. She was going after this championship. She had won it last year. She was the defending champion. Was beat by a French girl this time. Céline Boutier is her name. And she won on home soil in front of the hometown crowd. Kind of blew the competition away, but great to see that Brooke ended up getting in 2nd place. And I do want to mention, in just about a little over 3 weeks' time, the Canadian women are coming here for the Canadian Open. They're going to have it locally here. Great, entertaining package. I plan to be there for the tournament, and it's great to see that they're bringing it locally here. Brooke will be here, and a lot of our great LPGA talent will be here as well. It's going to be fun.
Oh, it's going to be great. And the weather's supposed to be fantastic. So it's going to be a great event. Great event here.
Yeah, good. 585,000. That's no joke. Pretty nice paycheck for the weekend.
Oh, that's a great paycheck. Great reward. Yeah, for sure.
Also in the world of golf, we're just 1 week away from the playoffs. Lee Hodges won this past tournament, blew the competition away at this 3M Open. In the Seniors Open over in the UK, they had just incredibly brutal conditions. Guys were just could not even get the ball to the hole when they were on the green. Their balls were getting blown away. The scores were the winning score was +5. Guys were shooting like +20, +30. There was scores in the mid to high 70s among the leaders. Some of the guys that made the cut were shooting in the high 80s. We almost saw 90s, which is just unheard of in professional golf. It looked brutal out there. It ended up going to a playoff. Alex Chayka won over Padraig Harrington in the second playoff hole. But man, it was brutal. Most guys should never play golf in that. I don't think most guys ever have. It was incredibly crazy, and the scores were just outrageous. But fun to kind of watch guys struggle that are that good at golf.
Yeah, it's a weather sometimes, man. That and especially for the sport of golf, it makes it so tough. I don't know if has that ever happened before where you saw scores that high, like on any level. On any level, it doesn't have to be seen.
I actually don't think so. Not in a professional tournament. I don't think I saw scores that way. I saw a guy get 88, one guy got 89. There was like usually these guys are getting in the 60s, 60s and 70s. I've never seen guys approach 90. It was just insane out there, I guess. Just wind blowing off the water, rain, just the worst thing that you could ever imagine playing in. It was wild. I just had to watch it. It was like watching a car wreck.
It's kind of cool for me because it's like, so that's what has to happen for these guys to shoot what I would shoot. Yeah. That's what has to happen for them. Exactly. All right, that's cool.
Exactly. Yeah. I just want to mention that F1 season has hit their summer break. 4 weeks off for their summer break. They were over in Belgium this weekend, and same old Max Verstappen, 8th win in a row, 13th win in a row for the Red Bull team. His teammate Sergio Perez was second. This team has just separated themselves from the field. Max was actually starting 6th because he got a five-place penalty, and he still blew the field away, winning by about 25 seconds again. And I'm sure the rest of the teams during this 4-week break are going to be trying to figure out what the heck they're going to try to do to face against Red Bull. I'm not sure if it's good for the sport or bad for the sport for one team to just be so much head and shoulders above the rest of the competition. It hasn't even been close this year at all. And I don't know how they're going to catch up. I just really don't.
Yeah, because, they had an opportunity to beat them this time, especially with Verstappen getting penalized as badly as he did. And it didn't matter. For me, if I'm anybody else, not a part of his team, I'd be incredibly frustrated and terrified. Yeah. Because it's like, this was our chance to beat these guys, and we still couldn't do it.
Yeah, it's insane, totally crazy. So yeah, we'll see. In a little over a month's time, we'll see what they put together and how it works. World of NBA, the NBA commissioner put out a statement that said Damian Lillard, if he gets traded to any team, he will give his best performance or will face significant suspensions and sanctioning. I guess him through his agent has said that Don't bother anybody else trying to get Lillard. He only is going to play in Miami. He will not play for you, will not give you any kind of effort if you trade for him. And the NBA has stamped that and said, no, no, you don't get to say that. You don't get to be like that. If he's playing, he has to give his full effort or there'll be some significant suspensions.
But we've seen this happen before. You know, when all of this stuff is happening with Lillard and everything else, and I'm like, why are they like? I do have a question. Like, why are they coming down so hard on it when this has happened so many times already? No. So many times. Shoot, we've seen James Harden wear a fat suit. All right.
Right.
And then I didn't hear anybody saying nothing about that. It's just like, oh no, he's just fat. So you know that's how it goes. So I'm curious. Like, is there going to be kind of a change from the NBA where they're going to start trying to stamp this stuff out? Because this is it's not like this hasn't happened before.
Oh, for many other players. Yeah, Harden's asked out of 3 teams. Yeah. Harden's asked to be out of 3 different organizations.
Exactly. So I'm looking at it and I'm thinking maybe they want to do like a change in policy when it comes to stuff like this, so that guys can't force their way to the team that they want to go to.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what the NBA is going to now to start cracking down on, because you know this is going to happen again. And so when it does happen again, I expect the NBA to just come out very aggressively against that person that did this. Because if Lillard's the start, then I expect this to continue on.
Yeah.
And because if it's a one-off, then there's a problem. There's a freaking major problem.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's funny you mentioned James Harden. Big rumors that he's going to the LA Clippers. I guess he's trying to get together with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard if they can stay healthy and try to get another trio together. I don't see this as a good fit. I don't know why. Maybe just like, wants to be in LA and Lakers won't have him, but kind of bizarre.
Yeah, I don't see it as a good fit. I don't see it as a good fit. And then also too, the Clippers aren't going to offer too much for him either, because his stock has slowly eroded. And I think it's eroded because of the fact that he's been forcing himself out of places all the time. So, like, even if he goes to the Clippers, how long is it going to be till he goes, I don't like this. I think I want out.
Get me out of here, yeah. Where's that fat suit again? Where did I leave that?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, the last note of the podcast announcement was made today. Manchester United has renewed their deal with Adidas. They have signed on the dotted line for 10 more years, and it's over $10 billion worth coming their way for the lifetime of this contract. If you ever have kids, get them into soccer. If you have nephews, if you have buddies with kids, start playing soccer. Give them soccer ball. Give them cleats for their birthdays. Soccer is where the money is at. We talked about Messi, Ronaldo, Mbappe. Now we're talking Man U getting 10 billion the next 10 years. There's crazy money in the world of soccer.
It's disgusting. It's disgusting money, because like a team that's not even part of like the best organizations for soccer just offered a dude Mbappe, like literally $1.1 billion to play for them for 1 year. 1 year. He would have got like 784 million or something like that just for 1 year. And then they guarantee it's like, then you can go back. Just go back to the team you were just previously on. Like, that just tells me everything I need to know. That tells me everything I need to know on how much money is in that sport. A ton.
How many kids do you know that you're going to be buying soccer gear for?
Every one of them. All of them.
Nice.
And if it's not soccer, it's going to be baseball, because then then at least for them, it's like, oh, you play that for 16, 17 years. You'd be like John Kruk, not look like an athlete whatsoever.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I love it. Yeah. Okay, man. Well, this was fun. It was great, as always. It was nice to get together with you over the weekend, and hopefully I get to see you soon. Keep in touch this week, and we'll talk soon. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, we'll keep in touch and hopefully try to get together with Steph before he takes off and goes to Mexico and lives his happy life.
Yes, sounds good. Okay,
All
buddy.
right.
All right, all the best. Bye for now.
Bye for now.
Okay, great. Yeah, that was Steph is leaving soon, unfortunately. So we need to get together. But great to see Jason over the weekend. Great to get together and watch some great boxing action, great UFC action, and fantastic boxing fight, amazing UFC card. We're lucky we both love these sports and get an opportunity to see them live. And I saw a commercial on the Jays broadcast yesterday, and it was about getting together with your buds. And they asked a few guys, or they showed some pictures to some guys and said, when's the last time you got together with your buddy, your best friend there? And most of them were like, they're racking their brain, like, it's been a while. And then they surprised them. The guy showed up and they sat down, had a beer together, and they said, too many men. I think the stat was 7 out of 10 men lose contact with their best friends and don't get to see them very much anymore. And it's becoming quite the epidemic and something not very good. And obviously with the pandemic, that made things a lot worse. But it's great. I saw Stefan on Friday, had a couple drinks and some lunch and hung out, which was super fun. And then get to see Jason on Saturday. That was another fun evening. And I recommend it. Call your best friend today. If you're listening to this, call the people get together with them. It's nice to be social and have some laughs and tell some stories and just interact and have some fun with your friends. So on that note, I want to say thanks to everybody that worked so hard, put everything together for us. We're growing leaps and bounds. Love the subscribers, followers on Instagram, all the things that we're doing, you're loving. So thanks so much for all your support. I want to thank our partners and sponsors as well. Anchor.fm, easiest place to make a podcast. Phenomenal at posting on multiple podcast platforms for us. So thank you to them. Verbero, the hockey equipment and apparel company, an industry leader in technology, performance, and value. The V350 stick is a must-have, and you should purchase it through our website. Going to Pampas and Possibilities, designers of West Coast beautiful things for your home. Call them up. They'll be able to come to your house and spruce it up, make it look great. And of course, last but not least, Forever Living, the aloe vera company for health and beauty products. Really great products. You can buy them at discounted rates on our website. So please do so. Anyway, hopefully the Jays make some moves. Unfortunately, they're losing 4-1 in the middle of the 8th inning here against Baltimore, trying to chase them down for the AL East lead and solidify their spot. If they can't catch them, solidify their spot in a wild card position. But let's hope they make a couple of really big moves and bring in some talent, because a lot of the other competitors around them will be doing so. And hope you have a great week forward. Thanks so much for tuning in. As always, appreciate your support. Love you lots. Take care of yourself, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.